Hey you a fan of Bug's Life and Grimdark? I've got the perfect thing. So I'm standing in a yard, a peaceful, mundane stretch of grass where nothing of consequence really seems to be happening. But what if I told you that below my feet, this moment, there's large-scale warfare. There's colossal beetle-riding barbarians and ant warriors clashing in a never-ending war. That down in the dirt, the fate of entire civilizations is at stake. You'd probably say it's about time I'd sign myself into the asylum, but what I'm describing is the genius of Bug Wars. Today I'm going to be talking about Jason Aaron and Mahmud Asrar's issue number 1 of Bug Wars. This is basically a fusion of high fantasy and childhood imagination. It's what you get when you mix Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Game of Thrones. It's the kind of story that feels like it's been plucked out of your childhood outdoor playtime. The first issue wastes absolutely no time in immersing us in its bug-sized battlefield. We open with this invasion, ferocious beetle riders storming an ant stronghold in a battle that's equal parts grand fantasy and grotesque carnage. While the premise of Bug Wars might seem kind of whimsical, the execution is anything but. I mean, this is brutal. Honestly, I'm not even sure if this video is gonna get monetized or not because there's some pretty brutal panels in Bug Wars. But Asrar's artwork is astonishing here. The sheer detail, mandibles clashing, insect wings tearing, bug blood spilling, it's all enough to just pull you into the story immediately. And the scale of the conflict is what makes Bug Wars so compelling. It is just a backyard, but to the inhabitants of the yard, it's their entire world, complete with kingdoms and warring factions. There's the War Raiders, the Lords of the Honeyed Thicket, the Maggot Monks, the Beetle Metropolis of Swarm City, the Witches of Weird Web. The story introduces 2 warring bug colonies that both blame each other for the mysterious death storm that obliterates everything in its path. And when this apocalyptic force arrives, wiping out both beetle and ant alike, it's revealed that it's actually just a teenager mowing the lawn. And really, this is a brilliant moment of perspective shift. It's reminding us that what is epic to one group is insignificant to another. And there's something about this perspective, about the miniature world, that I've always found really fascinating growing up. I mean, I grew up with The Secret of Nim, Bug's Life, Ants, An American Tale, Little Stuart, the Redwall books, The Secret Life of Arrietty, a very underrated Studio Ghibli film, and even George Shrinks. I've always loved those stories where we see the world from the perspective of like a mouse or something smaller than a mouse. How different the world works from that perspective. How terrifying a squirrel or a cat is, let alone a human. Things that seem inconsequential to us are monumental struggles for those in the miniature world. And here in the first issue of Bug Wars, we see that these warriors are terrified of ferrets and squirrels. And a lawnmower is a cataclysmic event that wipes out armies. This comic brings what I love about all those childhood series that I mentioned, but then delivers a much more grimdark story. It's like a Bug's Life, but with the brutality of the Black Company or the First Law series. And I would say that that's a really hard contrast to pull off, but in this first edition, or this first issue, it is a very strong foundation. I'm really excited to see where Bug Wars goes from here because there's a lot of potential. Now, as the war rages on below, the human story is unfolding above. We're introduced to Slade Slaymaker. First of all, cool name, but it's also a little cringe. We'll move past it. He's a teenage bug enthusiast whose family has just moved back into their childhood home after financial hardship. But this isn't a happy return. The house is where his father died under deeply unsettling circumstances, seemingly eaten alive by the insects that he spent his life studying. And his older brother, Sid, was the one who found their father's half-devoured body, and as a result has dedicated his life to killing bugs. And this contrast between Slade's fascination and Sid's hatred is kind of the tension that fuels the entire emotional core of the story. Now, Aaron's writing here is sharp and efficient. There's a powder keg waiting to explode between these two, and you can feel it in every exchange. And then, of course, there's the inciting incident. Slade, in an attempt to save one of his pet beetles from his brother's wrath, inadvertently activates a mystical amulet that shrinks him down to bug size and throws him straight into the heart of the war below. Now, I'm assuming that most of the story is going to be told from the bug perspective going forward, but we're probably still gonna get flashes over to Sid and his mom, and I'm really interested actually to see how that storyline's gonna play out. I do think that Sid is going to become the big main villain of the series. As we can see on the cover of the issue, there's this colossus figure holding a bug spray bottle, and obviously that's Sid. Now, the artwork by Mahmud Asrar needs to be praised because he brings a lot of weight and movement and intense drama to the bug scale battles. His ability to balance that visceral action with the more expressive and emotional moments, it's all so visually gripping. I really like the art style. I mean, he can make the image of an ant being hurled by a beetle feel so epic. Now, colorist Matthew Wilson deserves a mention as well. His vibrant but earthy palette gives this kind of lush and alien quality to the art. These barbarians and the ants, they feel like warriors. They feel like creatures of myth and legend. Their world simultaneously beautiful, but also very brutal. Now, there's even a map of the yard included at the end of the issue, which is drawn by Slade himself. I love this kind of thing. I love seeing how the different areas of the yard are like these mythical places to the bugs, and it just makes the story so much more richer. I can't wait to explore more of the yard and experience, these unexplored areas as well. There is so much potential with this story, and I feel like this first issue just did such a great job at laying down the foundation of what's going to be a very epic story. I mean, at least let's hope so. And Jason Aaron is known to write like high stake action mixed with more family drama and like personal moments, and I think we're really getting that here in this, even in this first issue, so I'm really excited to see how this is all going to play out. And with Aaron and Asrar's previous work on Conan the Barbarian, you can see some of that influence here. I mean, it feels almost Conan-esque, these bug warriors. I would say this was a phenomenal opening to what is promising to be a wildly imaginative adventure, and it's a story that plays with perspective in a way that few stories do, making the mundane feel mythical and the minuscule feel momentous. Now, I do have a small criticism here. I do feel like Aaron just included a lot of profanity. Usually that doesn't bother me that much. I'm a big fan of the First Law series by Joe Abercrombie, but it just seemed like there was too much of it. There was just too much swearing that it just kind of pulled me out of the story a bit. It wasn't that big of an issue, and obviously this is just volume 1, so I'm sure that's not going to be a problem throughout the whole series, but it is something I just noticed. And for my final score, I'm gonna give Bug Wars issue number 1 a 8.5 out of 10. Overall, Bug Wars is violent, it's clever, it's gorgeous to look at, and it's absolutely one of the new comic series releasing that I'm the most excited for, and this first volume flew off the shelves as soon as it released. If this sounds like something you would enjoy, I highly recommend checking it out. I'll have an affiliate link in the description. Using that link helps out the channel as well, and my only advice is maybe don't read it while you're sitting in the grass, because you might see things a little differently. Also, I know I don't really review comics that often, so let me know if you want to see more comic reviews. I'm likely going to review more omnibus comics and not single issues. I just wanted to make people aware of Bug Wars, because I feel like there's a lot of people that have no clue this exists, and it's very epic. As always, a big thank you to my patrons, my channel members, everyone who helps out on Ko-Fi. You guys make these videos possible. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.